And to you, good day.
What is a soul?
Well, it's an energy form, an energy reflection, a consciousness pattern that represents a reflection at a certain level with certain parameters defining it of the infinite, of the one, of all that is.
So how does one soul differentiates from another?
By being different in frequency, in angle of reflection.
So if everything is happening at the same time,
Yes.
then do I have other parts of my soul in other realities?
Well, yes, although you wouldn't necessarily say that they are yours, because your soul is specifically focused on the idea of having the higher mind and physical mind that represents this particular personality structure and this particular incarnational experience. The oversoul is what bridges multiple reality experiences, but souls, by definition, are kind of an individualized extension of an oversoul for an individualized experience reflection.
So the oversoul.
Is like a collection of individual souls. That's one way to look at it.
So the soul that's in me in this incarnation.
It's not in you. You're in it. The soul is bigger than you are as a person. You are an extension of the soul. It's not in you. That's an old-fashioned way of understanding it.
I'm in the soul.
The person is in the soul.
The person is in the soul, which is an extension of
the oversoul.
Is it the oversoul?
An oversoul.
An oversoul. So are all the oversouls, since we're all connected?
Yes.
True. Then are all the oversouls sort of are connected in some kind of entanglement?
Yes. On the level of the oversoul of oversouls. Look at it this way. You have approximately 7 billion people individually on your planet, yes?
Yes.
Those 7 billion individual personality constructs are representative of maybe about 500,000 to 700,000 oversouls. Does that make sense? In other words, each oversoul has multiple soul extensions incarnating on your planet at the same time.
Then we all have connections to each other.
Of course you do, because you're all extensions of the same one thing, just as we are.
But there are more connections of the one thing than others, right? I mean,
there are more expressions of it in certain frameworks than others, yes.
Okay.
Because it serves a purpose to have those kinds of expressions in that framework. It's relevant for what that particular oversoul might need to experience for its own growth.
Well, if everything that's ever existed, always exists.
Yes.
Then when you say that in this incarnation,
yes.
Does that mean there are new incarnations for the purpose of expansion so that it adds to whatever already existed?
If you translate the word incarnation as reflected experience, perspective, yes, because that's all anything is. You see, the structure of existence never changes. Your experience of it does. Your perspective of it does. That's what's expanding.
So...
Yes?
So there's no really deeper meaning other than to experience things in different perspectives for growth?
But that
and expansion.
That is the meaning of it, so that all that is can experience itself in all the ways that are possible for it to do so. To know itself. Remember, we said it all comes down to know thyself? Well, that's true for all that is too. And it's knowing itself through all of us and all of you.
So is it that when we follow our highest excitement,
Yes.
it's actually listening to our guidance of the oversoul or higher self?
Yes. Because that's its language. That's how the higher mind's language translates in your reality. It's actually speaking with you, and you're translating it into the feeling you call passion. That's just how its language translates in your reality.
Then is it when we have negative emotion, is it because we are
Filtering it through negative belief systems. Because it's the same energy, but when you filter it through negative belief systems, you can only experience it in a discordant, out of alignment sensation. But when you let go of those negative belief systems, those negative definitions, then you experience the same energy, the same transmission, the same language through a positive filter, which allows you to experience it in the way that we're talking about, as passion instead of anxiety.
So in other words, would it be correct to say that when we have negative emotions is we're not in alignment with our higher self?
Correct.
Or
Correct.
our higher self sees it?
In a sense, yes, it's guiding you. It's, in a sense, luring you to the vibration of your true essence so that you can be in harmony with it, so that you can have an effortless life. But by creating definitions that take you out of alignment, you experience disharmony.
So can I ask why there's so much gruesome things that's surfacing in our world now with all the pedophilia and
Because
all
you've got to
the,
get it out of your system. Because you're
Is-
at the end of that cycle. And you have to bring it all on the table so you can finally put it in front of your face and say, is this what we prefer to continue to do? Yes or no?
That's what I was thinking, this new energy shift, and
Yes.
we have to face the problem before we can purge the problem.
You have
kind
to
of
know
thing.
what it is, and you have to get it all out in front of your face. You can't hide it anymore. You can't deny it anymore. You have to see it for what it is. You have to look at the consequences of the choices you've been making. You need to take responsibility for it, which is not a negative thing, because that gives you the power to change yourself and change the experience you have. But if you hide things from yourself, you have nothing to work with.
And all this stuff, whether we label it negative or positive,
Yes.
is
All part of all
free
that is.
will as a result of, because we have free will.
Yes.
And if we don't know,
Yes.
if we don't try something, then we don't know that it's probably not where we want to be or kind of.
Sometimes you will experience or choose to experience things that are out of alignment because it makes it clearer what you prefer instead of what you don't.
Well, I'm just trying to reason why the people do all those things that they do.
Because they haven't been taught the tools of self-connection and self-empowerment, and they feel that they are cut off, empty, and alone. That's why we are sharing all these principles of the instruction manual with you, so that you can understand how to plug yourself back in. Not that you're unplugged, but that you have to become aware that you never can be unplugged. But because of the belief systems you have on your planet, many people believe that they are unplugged and have no source of power for themselves. Therefore, they are in fear. And therefore, they have a hole, or feel like they have a hole, that they can't fill. That's the source of all addiction.
Thank you for that. So what brings to mind about shifting what you said earlier about how we shift our realities to a different earth
Yes.
by our energies.
And
that
you're
we
doing
hold.
that billions of times a second already. It's
So
about being in the alignment that you prefer to be in, so that you are navigating yourself through those billions of shifts in the direction you prefer. Because you can't help but shift. That's what you do. It's what creates the side effect you call time and space and change. So you're already shifting. It's about conscious awareness that you're shifting so that you can be in alignment with the vibration that represents the path of the shifts you prefer to take through those multiple versions of Earth.
So in other words, if I don't want to be in the earth with all the pedophilia and all the chemtrails and all this stuff, I can just shift to a different reality and
You
not be.
are shifting. Even though you can still see another reality doesn't mean you're actually still in it. For a while, you'll be able to see realities that are not what you prefer, but it's like there's a glass wall between you now. The split is actually happening physically. So just because you can see it for a while, to give yourself an opportunity to really decide what you prefer and to give others a chance to still see those who are acting as shining examples of changes they could make too, you'll still be able to see each other's realities. That doesn't mean that that reality affects you in any way, shape, or form. But in time, you will no longer be able to experience or see or perceive those realities at all that are not vibrationally compatible with you.
So just don't focus on what I don't want to experience.
In a sense, you can neutrally observe it, but you don't have to get it any kind of an emotional charge as if it had any effect over you.
Yes.
You can learn from it, you can help others learn from it, but it doesn't have to negatively affect you.
Yes, thank you for that. I get that. And then I'm also curious about you, you're coming here to visit us in this time, space, reality. Are you visiting many other places as well?
I am a first contact specialist. I explore and visit many different civilizations and make first contact with them. This is one of the ways that our civilization makes first contact, by sharing information and seeing what you do with it. Because if you don't choose to absorb it into your lives, we know that you're not necessarily ready to be vibrationally compatible with our civilization, and we move on. That's one of the things that gives me passion. I have been trained as a first contact specialist.
So do you, in your life, I think you mentioned that you're alone in your spaceship?
Sometimes.
So okay.
Not always.
So you
Why? Do you think I'm lonely?
Yeah. Well, in my world, I think if I was a first contact specialist in a spaceship all by myself, I would be lonely, yes.
But if you actually thought that you were in the spaceship all by yourself, you wouldn't be a first contact specialist.
Yeah, which brings me to the next thing I wonder, you don't need a spaceship to come here.
No, not really, but it works better for you.
So it's really for our benefit that
For the most part, at this
idea
point
of
in
you
our
being in a
evolution, we maintain the simile of things that you would have some way of relating to, so that contact will be smoother for you. Not that we don't enjoy our spaceships, because they are literal, crystallized representations of our higher minds. So we're just floating around in a crystallized bubble of our own higher minds. So in a sense, the spaceship is actually still us. That's why we're not alone in it.
Lastly, can you tell me if I've been incarnated in other places other than Earth?
Well, not you, but you are connecting to incarnations in other places that help inform you and give you experience and information and energy, yes. But it's not you as a person.
So all of us here that's in our bodies right now, we're in this version, it's never going to come again, right?
No, of course not. As your Zen monks say, you can't step into the same river twice. It's always flowing. It's always changing. Change is one of the laws. It's a constant. Things are never the same. You may think they are, but they're not. That's your illusion of continuity. Does that help?
Yes, thank you, Bashar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Nania. What?
One more question?
Yes.
Thank you, Bashar. This is Kirby. Hello.
Hello, Kirby, hello.
These questions come in the context of a screenplay being written by my girlfriend, Hillary.
Speak up, speak up.
Okay. Do peak sunspot eruptions coincide with Sun, Earth, Jupiter, Saturn alignments?
Not always. There are many other mitigating factors and contributing factors as well. Not always.
But they can.
They can.
And does this alignment of the Sun, Earth, Jupiter, Saturn create ripples in time and space?
Yes, of course.
Can you speak more about that impact?
Please understand again that it's not so much about the idea of their influence or control or impact. It's about their reflection of the changes going on in the collective consciousness. They are representing ripples within your consciousness, changes within your consciousness, shifts within your collective and individual consciousnesses. They're not causing it, they're reflections of it. Does that help?
Yes.
Are you sure?
And can you speak more about what we might expect on Earth in July 2020 when this next...
Are you asking for a sneak preview too?
Just a little.
You can expect something unexpected.
All right. So reflection.
Yes, reflections.
And
everything in the cosmos is a reflection because physical reality isn't real. It's a reflection.
So we're not necessarily causing the reflection, but we're causing the effects of that alignment reflection.
Well, it is your reflection.
Okay. Beautiful. Thank you.
You are welcome.
So I have some questions from our Ustream listeners.
Start with one.
Okay. How do you be around someone who you don't like or trust?
You don't be around them. That's how you be around them.
Well, I'm assuming people have this maybe like in work situations or something where, you know, does that mean you're supposed to leave your job?
Well, it depends on the individual and what their path really is, because sometimes people will push you away by being a certain way in their personality because you won't move on your own, and so you've made an agreement with them to move you by being as obnoxious as they possibly can be, until you finally get the message that you wanted to move all along. It doesn't excuse their behavior, but if you find that there's someone who is prone to behave that way and you really want to force yourself to make a move, you'll attract them so that you will get the reflection that this is what you actually prefer. Unless, of course, it is for the purpose of helping them understand why they may be that way and reflecting to them how they can make changes within themselves that would be of great benefit to them. There are as many purposes to those kinds of exchanges as there are people, and you have to each suss out and discern for yourselves what the reason is why you may be having those kinds of experiences. It can't be given a general overall answer for every single situation in which that could occur.
So that's, of course, one of the amazing challenges on Earth is
Yes.
that you have a situation that shows up and you're like,
Yes.
well, does that mean that I'm supposed to leave my job? Or does that mean I'm supposed to show this other person another model behavior so that they
Yes.
can change? Or is it, you know, it's like then people can
Yes.
get lost with that. So,
Well, yes, but again, you start from the basic premises. Number one, it doesn't matter what happens. It only matters what you do with it. Number two, honest self-examination as to whether you're overlooking something within yourself that would provide the answer as to why this is happening in the way that it's happening. So starting with those basic premises will give you the discernment to be able to tell what action needs to be taken in the direction of your highest passion that is being given to you or being offered to you by the situation as it unfolds.
I felt like when you were saying that the thing to do is to tune into your passion. If you're passionate about what you're doing and you can bring yourself into that state,
Yes.
look at the situation from that state.
Yes.
And when you do that, you'll have honest self-examination.
Yes.
About what aspects is this person
Yes.
reflecting to me? Are they reflecting to me fears I have about my own self-worth? Is that something I need to focus on?
Yes. It's
However-
always wise to first make sure it isn't advice you need to take.
But come at it from a balanced place
Yes.
instead of the imbalanced place, which is I'm not worthy and oh no, here's
Yes.
another person reflecting to me that I'm not worthy.
Exactly. And this is why the idea of acting on your passion is the first thing in the instruction manual. It drives everything else.
And it's a state of being that you can trust. When it's a balanced connection to your passion, you're in contact with your higher mind. And
It's not the idea that it's a
Well,
state of being you can trust. It's the idea that it is the very essence of trusting what you prefer.
It gives you, when you feel that passion, it gives you the opportunity
To experience what it feels like to trust what you prefer instead of trusting what you don't prefer. Because you're always trusting.
And then over time, you become more and more confident in the process of following your passion, understanding that's a language you're
Yes.
having with your higher mind or with
Yes.
your greater spirit or whatever. And,
Yes, you become confident in the things you prefer to be confident about. Yes.
and then over time, you even get so used to that state that you know how to switch into that state almost instantaneously.
Yes, of course.
Because you're used to doing it.
Yes.
And then it becomes easier to get into that state and to perceive situations and evaluate your own culpability, the other person's culpability, if that's the word. And basically.
Well, responsibility.
Okay, and just to understand that not everyone's going to have great chemistry too, right?
Of course,
So-
because it may not serve a purpose for you to do so.
Yeah, like hating on somebody probably isn't going to help you, right?
Probably not.
So, so that would be the thing you would want to look at then if you're saying something
Yes.
like, well, what am I doing around someone
Yes,
who I
well,
don't
again,
like or
please
trust?
do remember that usually when you lash out at someone, it's basically a representation of what you actually feel about yourself but don't want to look at. So you have to find a scapegoat. Remember that people that are in denial about being in denial too. So they don't understand that it's actually something that they're feeling about themselves because they're in denial that it exists within themselves. They don't know why they feel what they do, so they have to blame someone else for the feeling because it can't possibly be coming from them about themselves.
So that's the part where it puts you in touch with your own personal issues of not
Yes.
feeling worthy.
Yes.
However, you also want to have the strength and the confidence to understand that if somebody else is doing something that's
Yes.
negative towards you,
Yes.
that you don't just crumble up and, oh gosh, I've got all these things wrong with me, so I guess,
Yes.
you know.
You're not accepting the offer of negativity from them. It's just an offer.
Right.
You don't have to accept it.
Right. And so when the more you feel that confidence in yourself, you can accept criticism in a sense.
Of course.
Without it blowing up into some big emotional drama, basically.
Of course. Because at that point, it doesn't really matter what anyone else's agenda might be. You have your own agenda and you are confident in it
That's right. Stay
about
in your,
who you are.
stay in your passion.
Yes.
And one person asked, can you translate your birth data into Earth terms so we can do an astrology chart for you?
Well, you already know that the translation is the date that exists right now.
11/11.
Yes.
And is there a time and location?
Essathani? How does that fit into your chart? If you believe that you have the ability to measure a 500 light year distance in the direction of the Orion constellation in a parallel reality, by all means go ahead.
Well, it was an interesting question for sure.
Yes.
And we'll see, maybe we can come up with some alternative times and locations that might approximate your birth chart.
All right.
That could be fun. So the last question is, can the focus of human consciousness be transferred from the brain to artificial matter in our lifetimes?
Yes.
What does that look like?
What does it look like? Depends on the device you build. It might look like a box. Is that what you meant?
I don't know, I guess I was going into like Star Trek, like, oh, it's in a big crystal sphere, you know, or something, or a jar.
Well, things will change. Materials will come into existence that may allow for more superconductivity of the intelligence. So the package will change over time as it becomes more efficiently capable of transmitting the consciousness that you're in touch with.
Could it actually look like a person? That it
Of
was
course it could.
like an android person, right?
Of course it could. Why not?
Right. And then you wouldn't even be able to tell if that person was a human or...
Well, again, if you design it that way, of course. It can really not appear to be any different at all.
Doesn't it, the technology keep advancing to the point where what an android would be constructed of would be so similar to a living being?
Well, yes, because you are learning to create biological engineering.